imagine.
I mean, when there are people that were there that are witnesses and they try to deny it.
Right.
And why would they deny it?
Yeah, that's the part I don't get.
But there's all kinds, right?
Yeah, there's all kinds. So tell me about what you endured. What happened to you during the Holocaust?
Well, okay, I'll start out with, I was born in Czechoslovakia, and it was Czechoslovakia till 1938 when the Hungarians took over. Hitler gave that part of Czechoslovakia to Hungary. My life as a child was happy and normal. When the Hungarians came in, they started changing things, all kinds of rules where Jewish people couldn't own a business, you couldn't hire non-Jewish employees for your household or your business, so you took on like partners in the business. Then we had to start wearing a yellow star to be recognized if we were on the street. And people used to make fun of us saying the stars are falling down. And this went on for a while. I went to Hungarian schools. Then in 1941 or so, we were expelled from the school. We couldn't go to a Hungarian school. Fortunately, there was another school, a Hebrew school, where we learned English, which was good. English and Hebrew. Then finally we started seeing signs that, our parents had to donate money constantly, jewelry and money that we should give to the government. And then the sign came out that first there were curfews. We were not supposed to be on the street after a certain hour. And then the sign came out that we're going to be taken to a farm in Hungary where we would be working as slave laborers. We were supposed to prepare for it. We could take with us whatever we could carry. The day came, they marched us down the street. The police came to the house and took us out of our house and took us to a ghetto where it was fenced in. There were tents for our sleeping and straw on the floor.
How old were you then?
Pardon?
How old were you?
I was 18.
You was 18.
It was the year when I
Hold on
was...
1 second. Let me fix this microphone.
Am I talking loud
No,
enough?
yes, ma'am. You're doing fine. Yep, the microphone just fell down. I'm gonna make one more adjustment right quick, and then I'm gonna finish with you.
Hi.
Thank you, Renee, for doing
Hi.
this.
Let me make one adjustment.
Is it still too noisy in here?
No, it's fine. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm good to go. So, you were 18 in this concentration camp, I assume, right? Correct?
I was 18 when they took us to the ghetto, and we stayed there for a few weeks, and from there they took us to the railroad station where we were packed into boxcars, the kind that you carry animals in. The boxcars were small, so we could barely sit down. We couldn't lie down. We would have to sit like sardines. We traveled for 3 days and 3 nights. But instead of the farms in Hungary, we wound up in the concentration camp in Auschwitz-Birkenau. When we got there, they ordered us to get off the trains. Some prisoners that were there were whispering to us, "Eat everything you can. They'll take it from us, from you." So we got off the train. We were like in a daze. There were big floodlights that almost blinded you. And then they started separating us. First they separated the females from the males. So my father and my brother went to one side. I never saw my father after that. And my mother and my sister went to the other side. After a while, when that separation was done, then they separated the older women and the younger ones and the children. Anybody that they thought couldn't work went to one side, and the ones that could work to the other side. My mother was only 46 years old, but she was sent to the other side. And they told us, "You're going to a shower, your mothers wouldn't be able to walk to the shower, so they will be taken on a vehicle, truck." So they loaded all the people that were older on a truck, and the younger people stayed down. And that was the last time I saw my mother. But they told us after the shower, you'll see your parents again. The older people that were supposed to go to the shower, we found out later, they were taken the same place, but instead of water, they got gas. And they died a horrible death. We didn't know that until we got back, until later. When they came to us, first they shaved our heads, so we were completely bald, and then we did get a shower. They told us to put our possessions like our clothing, our shoes, in one pile, that after the shower we would get everything back. Well, after the shower, instead of our own clothes, we got some prisoners' dresses with a number on it. We were a number after that. From the shower, they took us to barracks, where they put us on these bunks. Each bunk was big enough for one person to sleep. They put 6 people in each bunk. So again, we couldn't lie down, we could just sit up like I don't know what I would compare it to. After that happened, they would wake us up every morning when it was completely dark and cold, and we had like a count They called it sail appel. And they counted us every morning. And when they took us to the latrines, if you were a little late getting up, they hit you. They were terribly cruel people that were our guards. We stayed in Auschwitz for about 6 to 8 weeks. And then they started again a selection. There were men that came, SS men, and they had us march in a circle, and they picked out the ones that looked strong enough to work. A couple of times they had us marching completely naked. And this was young girls. I was 18, some of them were even younger, like 15 and 16. It was a terrible thing, but we were picked to go to work.
How did you survive mentally all this?
I think they gave us something to keep us in a daze. But when I think back, it almost seems unbelievable that it happened. And from there, they transported us into Germany. We were assigned to a big factory, the Krupp factory that manufactured ammunition. And it was not just working on ammunition, but this area was heavily bombed by the Americans, by the British, because it was ammunition, which naturally the Americans didn't want them to be successful with. So we worked in the factory. Again, they woke us up early in the morning, marched us. In the beginning, we had some transportation, but then that was bombed out. So we marched to the factory. We cleaned up. Every day there was some cleaning up from bombs, debris. And then when we got back to the camp, they gave us a bowl of soup that was made out of potato peelings, vegetable peelings that they would throw out normally, and some cabbage, and a piece of bread that looked like a piece of brick. We said, "What is this?" They said, "You eat it, it's bread." This went on and the cruelty constantly. We were treated like animals.
Worse than animals.
Yeah, worse than animals, yes.
People treat the animals way better.
We wished we would be dogs, right?
What do you want the people today, the young folks today, to know about the stuff you're going through and what they're going through now, in the world now?
Well, what goes on in the world now, and I hate to say it because I don't want to talk politics, but a man who's in charge of your country and says that there were good and bad people on both sides, racists and neo-Nazis, that there's good and bad. How could there be any good? People that discriminate like that and think they have the right to kill you because of what you believe in or what you look like. It's bad.
So when you saw that, did that kind of take you back to your childhood when you saw those things going on? Did that kind of bring you back a little bit about, where we are now?
Yes, I'm afraid that's the reason that when I first came to the States, I didn't talk much about what happened. It was too close and too hard to talk about. If I started telling somebody what happened to us, I started crying. But then later I heard about some of these people that come out and they say, oh, the Holocaust never happened. It was made up. It was propaganda. I said, we do have to speak up because we were there, and yes, it did happen. And if you don't watch out, it can happen again because history repeats itself. And you see today, there's so much anti-Semitism and racism that you have to be really aware of what can happen. Well, we were taken in 1944 to the concentration camp. And towards the beginning of 1945, we started hearing rumors that the war is coming to an end. And they said when the war comes to the end, they'll take us back to Auschwitz. Because there was an SS man that used to sit there and tell us, he said, we don't know now that whether we'll win the war or we'll lose the war, but we'll always have time to kill you. There will always be enough time left to kill you. We didn't want to go back to Auschwitz. There was a German man that told one of the girls that if we can escape, he'll help us. So we started planning on an escape. During the bombing, heavy bombing, where we were outside, we slept in a cellar, but we came out from the cellar and we watched the bombs falling, and we noticed that our guards, the SS men, had their shelters. They were getting away from being hit by a bomb. So we said, you know what? The best time for us to escape is when these inhumans go into their shelter and nobody's watching us. So we had a plan that we will escape. And one night we said, well, it's tonight or never, because it was that close to the end of the war. It was, I don't remember exactly times because we had no calendars, no watches. One day was the same as the others. So one night, four of us girls, it was my sister, another set of sisters that we knew from home, and two other girls, one that the German man told he would help her. So we ventured and we walked out of the camp, and we walked and walked around until we came across a Jewish cemetery that was all bombed out, and there was the leftover of a building, just a cellar was there. So we went down into this cellar, and we were hiding there for a few days. And then we said, well, we have no food. We'll die here of starvation. Let's look up the man that said he would help us. Well, one of the girls had an idea where he lived. He told her about it, and they went to look him up. When they came to his house, he was in a shock because he never thought that we would actually do it. And then he looked at the girl and he said, I told you I'd save you. I didn't mean all these other girls. But then he kept his word. And he brought us a baked not baked, but a boiled potato and some water every night that we survived on. I can't tell you how delicious those potatoes were.
So tell me about this event. Why is
Pardon?
this important? This event you had today. Why is this important to you today? This celebration they're having today.
Yes,
Why is this important to you today to be here?
because look how many years ago somebody else tried to annihilate the Jews, and they did not succeed, and we're still here, and we're a strong nation, and we'll fight. And I hope that no crazy man comes around like Hitler and destroys anybody. No human being has the right to kill somebody else, and especially for the reasons because they believe in it. There's only one God. There's only one God, so just because you're called something different, you're still only believing in one God. So the fact that we survived the,
Holocaust?
back then, that we celebrate Passover, and we're still here, and we still have survivors from Hitler. I hope that it never happens again.
And never
I
forget.
hope that people remember and people don't forget. And that's why I go to schools and I go to whoever wants me to come to speak, I go. Because it's important that people know. The children, when I go to school, to the schools, are so attentive. And then they ask questions and they are just very interested because you can't get the same thing out of a book as you do for somebody who actually was an eyewitness. So our escape was successful because another man took us into his house, fed us, and took care of us. And the reason I know what happened is because I met a woman who was in the same camp, and when I found out, I said, "What happened after we escaped?" She said, "Well, they lined us up and they threatened us, asking, where are the girls? Where did they go? Where are they hiding?" They never did. The girls didn't know because we did not tell anybody. So they even if somebody would have wanted to tell, there was nothing to tell. And they were out there, I think, with dogs, looking for us, couldn't find us, because I think the night we escaped, there was some rain. So if they had the dogs, they couldn't see it. And and then finally, when they saw that they were unsuccessful in finding us, they lined up the girls again, and they said, "Okay, we found the girls, and they are dead. We shot them." It was a lie. They didn't want somebody else to try it. So we survived it, and I'll talk about it as long as I'm alive, because I don't want to see it happen again. And I hope that people learn for what can happen from hatred and discrimination, because it's still going on.
Thank you so much.